I'm calling it right now. Daniel Kaluuya, Best Actor nomination, 2021. Judas and the Black Messiah is directed by Shaka King and stars Daniel Kaluuya, Lakeith Stanfield, Jesse Plemons, and is based on a true story set in the 1960s and follows the events of Fred Hampton, who was the chairman of the Black Panthers, and William O'Neill as an FBI informant. Right off the bat, this movie is directed immensely well by Shaka King. He directs this movie with such a raw, visceral lens that whenever the action is happening, you feel like you're right in the middle of it, and it's very heartbreaking to see what people went through back in the day, and we still see these events happening today. How are we still having these conversations today? Like, it's horrific. And I would say, counter to that, the soundtrack and the character performances are on point. Every single character in this is well defined. You know exactly who's on what side. You know exactly what everyone's goals are throughout the movie, and it depicts real people. I think it's the most relevant movie that I've seen that depicts black culture. It's amazing. Now, throughout the movie, you get to hear about people like Emmett Tills and how that how that affected certain characters like Fred Hampton and what that meant to him. You get to hear about other historical figures that started the spark or started the revolution and the pushback to fight against oppression and discrimination. And we get to actually see behind the curtain of what the FBI is doing and what the government is ultimately planning. They want to stomp out any radical movement, any extremist groups, and ultimately get rid of the figureheads behind the black movement. It's extremely heartbreaking, and sadly, it's a part of our world. This movement is still happening today. The fight to end oppression, to end discrimination. Now, we follow William O'Neill and is given a choice to either go to prison for 7 years or work as an informant for the FBI. He doesn't really have a choice. He can either go to jail, can run away, and then ultimately get hunted down by the FBI. His job is to bring down Fred Hampton, who is, I would say, at that time, a modern day messiah. I see him more leaning towards the visions of Martin Luther King than Malcolm X. You see the extreme group, the extremists with the crowns. They're supplied with guns. They are supplied to the teeth. Now, William O'Neill is the most complex character of this whole thing because not only does he have to blend in with the Black Panthers, but he needs to convince them that he is willing to shoot back. But his struggle comes with, towards the end of this movie, he really cares and is having difficulty doing the task that the FBI is telling him, and it's tearing him apart. In terms of the struggle that William O'Neill has to go through, it's either kill or be killed, and he has to fool everybody. He's not only a Black Panther, but if he has to take to the extreme, he will. He knows that what he's doing is betraying his community, his people. But on the other hand, you really get to see that he has no choice in what he's doing. This movie is not for the faint of heart. It depicts real events that are heartbreaking to see, but it's in hopes that we can aspire to destroy the corruption around us. Even though these figureheads are dead, their legacy still lives on today. I believe Fred Hampton's son is actually the chairman of the Black Panthers. That's going on to today. Overall, the movie is amazing. I highly recommend you go see it. For nothing else, the performances are outstanding. Soundtrack is amazing. As far as movie recommendations go, I would say Selma should definitely be on that list. If you like to see how one individual can ultimately create a revolution, I would say V for Vendetta. Absolute one of my favorite movies, and is actually extremely relevant to what's going on to today. And The Five Bloods, which is on Netflix. So I would highly recommend those movies. If you like Judas and the Black Messiah, let me know what you think in the comments below. As always, thank you for watching, and see you around.